Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! ISB!
43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. Another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed the overnight storms if you're in the central Indiana area and probably maybe wherever you are. Pretty wide swath there, but nice little cooler off. Everybody can use that in this heat wave they call a heat dome that the Midwest is currently under. But yeah, it's been a hot one, but we kind of keep it that way in here. Keep it hot, keep it rolling. Appreciate you being with us. Mike DeCourcy on the program today. No Chronic Hoosier, but we will have Kevin Brockway joining us live from Omaha, the College World Series as it continues to roll on. Not a lot of new things happening other than the Celtics post their 18th NBA title with a 4-1 series win over the Dallas Mavericks. Came a little easier than some might have expected. Dallas was able to get that one win in, but the Celtics mostly dominated that series and looked to be the formidable team that everyone thought that they were heading into that finals. And it's not the Larry Bird Celtics. Don't get confused. But man, it doesn't matter. They have won. John Boy, how many? See, they won like 6 in the 60s.
Yeah, they won a ton previous or prior to the year 2000. This is now their 18th total NBA title and their second in the 21st century, their most recent being in 2008 before winning last night.
So how many different decades have they won a title in?
It's a good question.
Well,
they are officially, if they weren't already, I believe they were already the league's winningest franchise with 18 NBA championships.
I think that goes without saying.
Yeah.
The Lakers, they lost. I think they beat the Lakers 6 out of 7 times in the 60s.
So here we go. They won in the fifth. They won 2 titles in the 50s. They won
In the
1,
60s.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the 60s. They
What?
won 2 in the 70s. They won 3 in the 80s, and then they didn't win until 2008. So they missed out on the 90s in the 2000s.
And now,
they did get one in the 2000s.
6 decades that covers.
Wow.
That's what you call a dynasty. In England, they call it a dynasty. It's a dynasty, baby. One that continues to roll. Hope everybody's doing well. Appreciate you joining us on the Andy Moore Honda Hotline. Of course, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymorehonda.com and get more to your door and the best in new and used vehicles. In addition to the Autograph app, where real fans get unreal rewards, the first app to track and reward fans for loving what they love most, turning passion into access and experiences. Download the Autograph app in either the Apple app or Google Play Store today, where unhinged fandom meets unreal rewards. You have to use the code ISB Media, where you don't have to, but it really benefits us if you do. But yeah, it's kind of a cool spot to get a lot of your content all in one spot, whether it's Indiana content, whomever you're following. It's all right there, but use ISB Media, please. Got some new faces or new names on the Andy Moore Honda hotline I see already. A lot of mostly familiar faces. Anthony, how are you doing, man? Don't recall seeing your name before, but appreciate you being with us this morning. A lot of familiar ones. Five Left, Tannis, Mike, Justin, Brian, Justin, Bob, David, Bill, and a host of others. But how's your day going? How's your week started off? John Boy, how about you?
Oh, it was good. Sorry, I know you probably saw me pop in. I was trying to come in sneakily behind in the background, but it decided to show me in the stream. But it was a good day yesterday. And we're already at Tuesday, but the heat's still here, as you mentioned, to kick off the show.
It is. St. John's and athletic director Mike Gregg are parting ways after 6 years, the school announced yesterday. His tenure will end at the end of this month, so week and a half or thereabouts. It's been an honor to lead the athletics department at St. John's, Gregg said. He is proud of what they've accomplished, yada, yada. As I bid farewell to St. John, what is he? It's like he's going off onto some service to a foreign country. As I bid farewell to St. John's, I extend my gratitude to our passionate fans and loyal alumni whose support has been the bedrock of our community. Boy, that seems like one of those statements that should follow up with the commercials they did during the NCAA tournament with the comedian. I can't think of his name right now. And then there's another girl that was actually in Curb Your Enthusiasm for a couple episodes too, playing a horrible actress. But she would always play out what he was being said, or what the JB Smooth was saying. But yeah, as I bid farewell to St. John's.
Fun fact, there was a tweet that somebody pulled up yesterday. Back in October of this past year, there was a little interview piece that Seth Greenberg from ESPN did with Rick Pitino, asking about NIL. And this is what Rick Pitino says is going to would happen if they didn't have enough NIL money for St. John's basketball. Listen to this.
Mike Craig's going to have a heart attack with all the money we're going to spend, but that's okay. We'll find another AD.
Oh, boy. We'll edit that one out.
He says they'll find another AD if they don't have enough NIL money. And look what we have here. Mike Craig's on his way out.
Well, now I think that he said he'd have a heart attack, didn't he?
So the quote is, Mike Craig is going to have a heart attack and all the money we're going to spend. That's okay. We'll find another AD.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was all in good fun, but
it was. Yeah.
Interesting coming from Rick Pitino, of course.
His biggest moves came in the men's basketball program, where he oversaw two significant coaching changes. Chris Mullen resigned as the team's head coach back in 2019, and Craig turned to Mike Anderson as his replacement. Anderson went 4 years without an NCAA appearance, and then Craig fired him after the 22-23 season. That opened up the path for St. John's to pursue Hall of Famer Rick Pitino, the New York native. So, that was a good hire. No reason. I don't know why he's leaving. I'm just something to talk about. Man, Providence has a basketball recruit that I'll spell his name for you. ERHUNMWUNSE. Try that one on for size, John Boy. ERHUN, Erhun, then it's an M, then a WUNSE. Erhunmunzi. His first name's Oswin. That's easy. He's one of their recruits, but he's jumping up in class from the 25. He was the number 31 college basketball recruit for ESPN's ratings for 2025. Reclassifying for 2024 and will enroll at Providence. So, guy's in a hurry, man, but he's a big 6'10" dude. Coleman Hawkins, remember him from Illinois? Hit the portal, going to Kansas State. He was the top remaining transfer. Kansas State puts him out in the Big West Conference, playing against Oklahoma and Texas Tech and all of those schools, it makes you why leave Illinois? That's what I don't get. People, it's sometimes it's starting. It just seems to some of these guys are just leaving for the sake of leaving. There's no way that I guess Terrence Shannon Jr. not having him back was part of it. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't think they were going to be strong enough. And speaking of Terrence Shannon Jr., I don't know if you followed any of that case, but it is looking more and more as if there are just there's a lot of lack of evidence in that case.
I could be wrong, but I believe he was acquitted about a week.
Oh, is it over
ago.
already?
I don't know that for a fact, but I thought I saw something about that, and I didn't know if you all had talked about that already.
Had not. I've not been following it, but I just enough to know that, boy, it was like, yeah, that's not going to go well for the prosecutor. And you think back now when he was arrested, how everybody was all up in arms when he was able to get a judge to get him a restraining order or a temporary injunction, rather, to be able to continue playing because he was suspended by Illinois. And can you imagine if it would have turned out that he lost that entire season? Illinois would have lost a great year, but he would have lost an entire season that has made or broken his career going forward over a wrongful allegation. People act like that stuff doesn't happen. It does happen. And that's why, again, don't rush to judgment. Let the facts come out. Even when they seem overwhelmingly in one way, you have to let the facts come out, man. And this is just one of those cases. Can you imagine? It would have just, not that it hadn't already affected his life, but that would have forever changed his life. So don't be a bandwagon jumper on everything. You got to let stuff play out, man. The facts will come out. They'll be there. Getting a little rain up in Indy, according to Ed, so I'm sure they can use it. We've got lots coming up here today. Looking forward to talking to Mike DeCourcy. What are some of the things you'd like for me and Mike to talk about, John Boy?
Oh, it's totally up to me, man. You can go in all sorts of directions. How about you talk a little Copa America soccer? I'm sure that's right up your alley, isn't it?
No, we're going to pass on that. That's a hard pass. Yeah. So nothing, nada.
I mean, you again, Mike DeCourcy. He's a jack of all trades. You all could talk.
Well,
about
I understand that. That's why I was giving you the opportunity to suggest.
I don't know if he's a father, but we should hear what he did on Father's Day. Maybe he's not a father. But I'm sure he has a father. You have to. If you're in this world, you definitely have a father. That's true.
And that's not going to entertain the people.
It could be more entertaining than you might realize.
The people. You got to think about the people, man. Got to think about the people. How is Kansas State going to do next year? Got Coleman Hawkins. We'll see. We've got lots more coming up. Mike DeCourcy being a big part of that. K-Bro joining us today, too, live from Omaha as we'll talk about the College World Series. Plenty more coming up. Brought to you by Autograph. Go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store today and download the Autograph app using ISB Media as your code. And we're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
All right.
Wow. McElroy taking 3 weeks off from golf.
Oh, wow.
Are you kidding me?
All right, here we go. I'm assuming Mike will be on momentarily.
For high-quality meats, bakery items, and now fresh seafood, Chop Shop Market and Table has the largest selection of in-house made products around and everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home. Or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Chop Shop, home of the Indiana football and men's basketball coaches shows. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Tuesday. Jim Coyle with you as always here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and joined by our favorite Tuesday guest, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and Big Ten Network. Mike, how are you, sir?
I am well, Jim. How are you?
Good, good. Did you have a happy Father's Day weekend?
I did. It was very nice.
You know what? Do you have children?
I do not, but
I was going to say, we have never talked about it. And so I'm like going, I don't know if he has kids or not. So
it's a very long story that I don't know how you would say it. I am a grandfather, but not technically not, but in actuality I am. So
close
it's
enough.
a long story. I'm not sure you want to get into it, but but I got a chance to spend Father's Day with her, and it was delightful. She's almost 4, and a real delight.
That's amazing. There's nothing better, especially when you say she. I remember when I was married once, I wanted to, of course, like every guy, you want a son. Everybody wants a son. Oh, and ended up having a daughter. And it's like, but it's one of those things. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't trade this for the world. It's crazy how things change. But yes, no, congratulations, and glad you had the opportunity to enjoy that, as did I. It was a great weekend. Of course, the Celtics wrap up their 18th title. And when we want to talk about dynasties, there is nothing that replicates a dynasty any more than the Boston Celtics. I think a minute ago we counted up 8 different decades that they have won a title in. 8 different decades that started in the 50s. They owned, I didn't realize that they won 9 in the 60s.
Oh,
9?
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought they won 6 out of 7, which was astounding, but gee whiz. So people that want to talk about Michael Jordan, oh, he's great, and the Bulls and all this stuff, I'm like, dude, there are those that came before that might have done a few things to raise your eyes at the very least.
Well, I think that without a doubt, what the Celtics did under Red Auerbach in the 60s, 70s, and 80s was amazing. But it's continued now. They've been able to win titles with Reds, enduring message, etc. But with different people having to make decisions. Danny Ainge, back when he brought in KG and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce, and then now Brad Stevens and the terrific team they've constructed against a lot of doubt. There were a lot of people doubting whether Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were a championship tandem. Someone put together on Twitter a 5-minute clip, some Celtics account, a 5-minute clip of media being wrong about this year's Celtics. And it's kind of funny. But one of the things that just really, like how they said that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were too similar as players for them to succeed together. I'm like, what planet did that come from? Like, Jaylen Brown is an A+ athlete, plays above the rim, can hit the three. And Jason Tatum is one of the most versatile basketball players of this generation. Long, not super dynamic. Think about it. Among great players, 6'7", in the 6'7", 6'8" range, great wing players in the history of the league. Like, not many that are in his company in the dynamism category. And what I mean by that, I'm not being like he's at this end. No, he's at this end. He's at the bottom end with maybe Carmelo Anthony and players like that. And so for him to be, I wrote about this last week, for him to be able to rise above that limitation. I mean, he's not an awful athlete, don't get me wrong. But when you're 6'8" and you become a superstar in this league, you're Julius Erving, you're Dominique Wilkins, you're Scottie Pippen. I mean, those guys are electric. And Jason Tatum is not. But because he's so skilled and because he thinks the game at such a high level, he is extraordinary. And I think sometimes because of that, because he's not that, he's not Dr. J, he's not, there was already a Dr. J, and he's not taking that nickname because he's not playing up where Dr. J played. I think people don't appreciate it enough. They look at Jason Tatum as deficient instead of looking at him as an extraordinary player who understands the game and can think his way through it. And that, I think there's probably a resistance to embrace a black athlete who conquers the game close to the floor and, strictly, primarily, I shouldn't say strictly, but primarily because he is smarter than you as a player. I think there's a resistance to that to some degree. I think that's why he, in part, why he takes a lot of heat. I was really excited to see him rise above all that garbage and become a champion. He's a 3-time All-NBA player. I believe he's a 5-time All-Star. 4-time All-NBA, 3-time first-team All-NBA, 5-time All-Star, and people were still on his case in as recently as the start of these playoffs, as recently as halfway through these playoffs, as recently as the start of the final series. People were on his case in the media, outside the media, social media, etc. And he conquered it all.
Yeah, and the Celtics roll on with usually it's with players. You'll see that makes, with the Celtics, it's been the front office. You've got Brad Stevens now, who has moved from the coaching sidelines to the front office. And I remember seeing is just part of a game or something, and they were talking about MVP, and somebody said, well, Brad Stevens. And they were kind of joking, but not. And it's amazing that you can continue to have the effect on a franchise that he is having, and to have done it in different ways, from the coaching sidelines and now in the front office.
Well, I you look at that roster and you see the impact of his presence, and it starts with Drew Holiday, who was an essential player to this championship run, did a phenomenal defensive job, made big shots, has been a champion before. All credit to Drew Holiday for what he was able to do. Guy's a winner. When he left UCLA early, I wondered whether he would have the career that he was capable of having, because I always loved him as a high school prospect, but I didn't think when he took off from UCLA that he was quite ready to make the jump, and I wondered about it. And he never did become a star, but he found his niche. He found how to be a winning player in the league. And gosh, we're 15 years beyond his departure from UCLA after his freshman year. And he's been a key player on 2 championship teams, and not like, not standing next to Shaq or standing next to MJ or whatever, but on teams that really had to fit together to be great. The Bucks with Giannis, these Celtics, they had to fit together to be great. They were better than you, maybe talent wise, but they weren't like overwhelming. It wasn't the Jordan Pippen Bulls or the Shaq Kobe Lakers or Magic Kareem Lakers, etc. These were teams that had very good, excellent talent, but it all had to fit together. It all had to be pieced right, and Drew Holiday was a key part of both of that. Al Horford gets his title. It's funny because I was laughing because there was so much written about, oh, he's been in the league forever, and now he finally has his title. I'm like, he's already got 2 rings from Florida. It's like not like he's bereft, He got 2 championships. How many guys in the history of college basketball won 2 in a row? They're like, it's probably less than 100. And he's got 2 rings. So I'm happy for him, but it's not like he didn't ever have the feeling of celebrating a title. He was great. And then you look at the Derek White, what a steal he was, to get him away from the San Antonio Spurs, who essentially discovered him, and for him to be the player that he is. I've never seen a guard, and I don't mean like a Scottie Pippen, who's really a wing, but I mean a guard who blocks shots like he does. And his timing is phenomenal. I mean, there was a point in this series when Mike Breen, the tremendous play-by-play announcer for ESPN and ABC, said, I think we have to stop calling him the best blocking guard in the league and start referring to him as one of the best shot blockers in the league. So all that, a terrific team put together, and they put together a terrific performance. And yeah, if you're a Pacers fan, you can still sit there and think we were this close to taking them down. And part of that was even without Tyrese. So I do think the Pacers still need a piece or 2, maybe just 1. But they're not far away, Jim. They're not far.
I just getting ready to say that, the Pacers, that puts them in that conversation and this is where other teams come from. You build these with pieces, and They have been doing that over the last couple of years with young talent that is becoming more experienced. Tyrese had a solid year. There was probably a lot of learning that went on during the year for him, which was probably the best thing for the Pacers as they continue to move forward with him as their centerpiece. But the addition of guys like Obi Toppin and players like that have continued to grow this franchise, and it's going to take something for a team like Indiana to be able to do that, to knock off one of these big, powerful teams. Indiana's, even in the NBA, the Pacers are considered a mid-market team because they're still in a mid-market. It doesn't affect the NBA as much as some of the other sports, but it still affects the sport.
Well, I think it affects the NBA more than it affects the NFL or NHL, but it doesn't affect it. The NBA's baseball version of the salary cap gives you at least a chance, whereas in baseball, it takes a miracle. The problem that has been with the NBA is players being reluctant to commit to long-term stays in Indianapolis. My goodness, even Victor Oladipo wasn't really all that wired up about sticking around. So getting Tyrese to say, I'm all in, that was great. You've got some really good young players around him. Ben Mathurin misses the entire playoffs. Let's hope he's back to being who he is next year. And like I said, there might be one more piece they need. And of course, they've got to keep the ones they have. I think they have at least one player who's ending his near the end of his contract or at the end of his contract. And so we'll have to see where that goes. But I like what they have. I will confess, Jim, when Kevin Pritchard executed the Halliburton trade for Domantas Sabonis, I was critical because I love Domantas Sabonis. I thought he is a tremendous player, and I wasn't wrong about him, but I didn't realize what they were getting in Halliburton. I hadn't seen him a ton, a little bit at Iowa State, almost nothing in Sacramento. I never watched the Kings, so I didn't realize what they were getting. The Kings got a great player in Sabonis. He's terrific, but the Pacers won that trade. It wasn't a landslide, but it was the trade they needed to make. Halliburton, if he continues to progress, has a chance to be extraordinary.
It's like I don't think a lot of people realize that. Didn't the Celtics acquire both Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale by trading Joe Barry Carroll?
Yeah, I don't know the exact mechanics of it, but they were both traded for. I'd have to look it up exactly who went where. But that was around. That was a pretty much the same deal. And yes, they gave up Joe Barry, and Parrish, of course, became a Hall of Fame center and a foundational piece for the Celtics. And Kevin McHale became one of the great players in the history of the league. It was a phenomenal trade, and you can't win in the NBA unless you make great moves. If you make bad moves, like drafting Markelle Fultz #1 overall after he missed most of his freshman year and wasn't a shooter, like there are people like, how do you get that job and make that pick? I don't know. I'll never understand that. I couldn't believe they made that pick. There was a consensus toward making it when Markelle Fultz went #1. I think it was 2017, if I remember correctly. 2016 or 2017. It was a really bad decision. Jason Tatum I believe it was 2017 because I believe Jason Tatum was on the board, and they passed and they went with Markelle Fultz, the Sixers, and that's why the Sixers have struggled in the time since. They've never really made up for that decision, for letting Jimmy Butler get out of town. You got to make good decisions, Jim, or you're never going to do it. And
you know how many times I've heard that in my life.
Yeah, I got to give Kevin Pritchard a lot of credit for what he did this season, and I'm eager to see what he does for 24-25, because I think that right now they got everything in place. Now you got to put that cherry on top of the cake.
Well, and they have to either re-sign or let Siakam and Obi Toppin they have to re-sign those guys or risk losing them. We've got lots more
Yes.
coming up. The great Mike DeCourcy from the Big Ten Network and the Sporting News is with us, and we've got lots more to get to. We'll talk some Big Ten hoops, Illinois, and Les Miles suing to get his vacated wins back. I'm like, dude, get out of here with that. We've got lots more coming up here, brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore and Remax Realty. For those in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, reach out to Cheryl. Her two decades of experience could be the difference between getting the home you want or not. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. We're back with more with Mike DeCourcy right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home, he wants his wins back so he can be eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame.
Well, let me say, I'm eager to talk about this because the rule that says you have to have, I think, a 600 winning percentage to get into the Hall is the stupidest rule. Like I'm not going to say it's the stupidest rule in sports because we still have the 24, the advanced the ball timeout in the NBA. So, but it's the stupidest rule that's attached to sports. It's just ridiculous, and it's keeping the great Howard Schnellenberger out of the Hall, and that's ridiculous.
Yep. I could not agree more on that. I am fearful to wonder, would he get into the Hall of Fame even if he had his wins back after how his career, after all the stuff that happened on his watch?
Yes, that's the part of it that that you wonder about. Would people be comfortable with that? It was not pretty, a lot of it. But if that's what's keeping him out, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Justin Timberlake arrested in New York. Huh?
No, what?
I just saw a thing flash by.
That's crazy because he's been touring.
Oh, maybe he was with Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, DWI, I see.
Oh,
boy.
That's what ABC is reporting. So it's not me reporting that. It's
yep.
ABC is reporting that.
Yep. Daily Mail reports it. New York Post, ABC News. Of course, I saw it from a TMZ post. I just happened to pop up. Down in the Hamptons.
Excuse me, guys. All right, here we go. 30 seconds.
Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, joined by the great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and the Big Ten Network. Mike, I mentioned before we headed off that Les Miles is suing everyone, it seems. He's suing LSU, the NCAA, the National Football Foundation, alleging that all of those improperly vacated the 37 wins from his tenure at LSU, which renders him ineligible for the College Football Hall of Fame because there is an edict requiring a 60% win percentage, which in the break you mentioned, keeping former Louisville, Miami, one-time Oklahoma coach Howard Schneller, FAU architect, he started it, out of the Hall of Fame as well. I don't know who the hell would put Les Miles in the Hall of Fame. Maybe Hall of Shame, maybe. I would be embarrassed almost to bring this up if I were him, but some people have no, there's just no lines for them.
Well, he had quite a few controversies during his time as a college football coach. I am more than opposed to the 600 win percentage rule. It's a stupid rule.
Is it the only Hall of Fame that requires a specific percentage?
That's the only one I'm aware of that does. It certainly isn't in place for the Pro Football Hall of Fame or for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. You don't have anything like that. In college football, I mean, if you're Howard Schnellenberger, you took over Miami when it was nothing and you made it into a champion. You took over Louisville when it was nothing and you made it into for a brief period of time, a national power. He is one of the best college football coaches of all time. And for him not to be in the College Football Hall of Fame is an absurdity. There's no excuse for it. And it's an absolute shame that we lost him in 2021 without him getting that due. He absolutely 1,000% earned it. He's a much better coach than others who accomplished less but got better jobs, and therefore they are in the Hall of Fame. That's the shame to me in that case. But for Les Miles, I don't have a strong feeling about him getting in. He can fight it if he wants. The rule itself is dumb. It's even dumber if the rule is because your wins were vacated, because it's always been a figment of the NCAA's imagination. Like the wins for UMass in 1996 that Marcus Camby played in at the Final Four. The wins, not at the Final Four because they didn't win any there, but in the NCAA tournament. During the course of that year, they beat Memphis when I was at the game. They beat the Memphis Tigers in Worcester, and I was there. You can't vacate that. It happened. I was there. I wrote about it. It doesn't go away. So if you're keeping Les Miles out of the College Football Hall of Fame for other reasons, go for it. But if that's what you're doing, you're keeping him out because they pretend that he didn't win the games that he won. That's ridiculous.
I mean, that kind of is like the Louisville having their 2013 national championship taken away under the same kind of ridiculous things. I mean, those people were gone, but that's a different conversation for another time, because there are similar situation. Illinois and Terrence Shannon Jr., who was acquitted recently on the charges that nearly train wrecked not only his but Illinois' season. And I talked about people that could have just ruined everything for him. And now it has turned out that not only was he acquitted, he wasn't acquitted because of on some technicality. He was acquitted for some strong reasons. And people just cannot jump to conclusions, and that is why these things are allowed to play out.
Well, that's the problem. You get arrested for something like that. The team, whether it's a professional or college team, the team is in a very difficult position when something like that happens, because it could be something like this, or it could be something horrible. And especially when when law enforcement's involved and there are lawyers involved, it's hard to always know the truth about something. I don't think Illinois was wrong to exclude him when they were informed of what the charges were. I don't think that he, obviously, based on what the conclusion reached in the trial, I don't think he was wrong for trying to get himself back on the floor because he had a lot at stake. So it was never an easy situation for Illinois. They wound up having a pretty terrific year, winning the Big Ten tournament, reaching the Elite Eight. And, there are a lot of people out there who were critical of All-America teams that Terrence didn't make. I had a hard time voting for him as an All-American, as much because of the time he missed as because of what was hanging over him. When you miss that period of time, that much time, you needed to have been clearly better than everybody else. I think we look at Evan Turner back in 2009-10. He missed a chunk of the year that he won National Player of the Year, but he was so much better than everybody else. Terrence was great this year, but he wasn't on a level that was far and away above everybody else. If he was, they would have found a way to beat Connecticut. He was a great college player this year, but it was hard to vote for him for All-America because of that chunk of time he missed.
And speaking of which, his former running mate, Coleman Hawkins Jr., heading off to Kansas State now. Illinois, once again, Brad Underwood having to mine the portal, as he has done a good job of. But now that the dust has kind of settled for a lot of teams in the Big Ten, and I know you probably haven't had a ton of time to go over this yet.
Oh, I actually have. I had a project that I had to do. So
I wish we'd have started talking about this 10 minutes ago then. So where are the chips falling? What say the daggone it, bracket analyst Mike DeCourcy?
Well, I think this is red meat for the show that we're having here, that we're doing here, because if you look at it, for me, it's Purdue, Indiana, and UCLA next season. Those are the teams that are the ones to beat in the Big Ten as of now. Now, there's still players out there, and there's still some things that could happen or whatever. But for me, those are the three teams that are in position. Now, I believe that in any season, as we saw last year, when two of the top teams in the league, Nebraska and Northwestern, were not predicted high at all, but the schedule worked out and they played great, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of teams in there that could in the Big Ten, but there are some teams that should. That's what you're trying to begin the season as, one of the teams that should. And I think that Indiana and Purdue fit into that category. Indiana still, for me, it's a little bit about how does he mix it so that it works? Because you look at if you look at the five guys that I think most people pencil in as starters, because I got a lot of pushback when I said that you can't take a fifth-year senior who started multiple seasons and put him on the bench. And I got a lot of people saying, oh, yes, you can. You can put Trey Galloway on the bench. Okay, but so let's just take the five that are in the other category then. The two transfer guards, Mbako, Renew, and Omar Ballo. You still don't have a lot of shooting there. A lot of proven shooting. Okay, so now you got to figure out how do you work that in. Well, and then also, even if you put Trey back into the starting lineup, I think you can get him back to being a 40% 3-point shooter because he won't be constantly having to make his own plays. Now they got playmaking. And so I think you can get him back to a good number. But how do you get Luke Goody on the floor so you can get what you recruited there and what your team has obviously needed? Or does Mbako become a more reliable 3-point shooter? It's there. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's there. He's got to be right now while we're talking in the gym. Not literally, but figuratively, he's got to be in the gym while we're talking, working on that jump shot because they need that. whatever you do with Luke Goody, you need Mbako to become a high 30 shooter, reasonable volume, maybe 60, 70, 80 makes, and shooting somewhere between 37.5 and 40. If you can get that from him, you can win. Purdue, I obviously you lose the greatest player in college basketball over the last couple of years and one of the all-time greats, to be honest. But I think there's a lot there. I like what they have. I'm a big Miles fan. I think he is terrific. My brother argues with me. He likes Camden Heide better. He thinks Camden Heide's the guy. And they both have to deal with Fletcher Lawyer for minutes. I think between the three of them, you can get, that's 80 minutes. You can get 30, 30, 20, or maybe 26, 26, 26, something like that. But there's enough minutes there for the three of them. And then you've got a third-year starting point guard in Braden Smith. And I think you have enough in the center spot between Berg and the freshman who did such a nice job down with the U18s that won the America's Cup or AmeriCup or whatever they call it with the FIBA U18 regional championship.
I think it's CONCACAF.
No.
I'm kidding. It's a joke.
That's right. I like it. I like it. We're getting ready for Copa America this week. But I think that there's a lot there. So between the two, and then UCLA returns a lot from what they had last year. Those guys all have to step up. But Jim, there was a time last year when they were a good team. What they were was a little bit fragile from this talent standpoint, and a lot fragile from a confidence standpoint. They really had fragile confidence. When they lost at home to Utah mid to late February, they lost late, and that broke their confidence again after they put together a really good run. They had a bunch of transfer portal additions. I think there's enough there for them to be in the picture, in the team picture with Purdue and Indiana. So I like what the Big Ten is going to be this year. I think it's going to be really exciting. You've got 18 teams now, and I don't think there's a bad one. I looked around and doing some research for a project that I had to do, and people were a lot of the projections I was seeing were predicting Penn State 18th, and I'm like, first of all, I don't agree with that at all.
No.
But second of all, if that's your 18th place team, you have a hell of a league.
Yeah, I mean Maryland, even Ohio State, who fire their coach last year and then go on a run, a good coach no less, but things weren't working, and then all of a sudden they make that change and they go on a good run. They get Bradshaw from Kentucky. They have added pieces. Maryland has been picking up. So it's going. I can't. It should be a much more fun league because Zach Edey is not in it. Because it's not so skewed. I think it is going to be a great battle of a lot of the things you just mentioned, but there's a lot more equality with these teams now, and it probably will end up going deeper than just 3 or 4 teams, because usually there's, you get your top couple, then you get your next section, and then it kind of changes. Boy, I think that top could really blend into the next section to be 5-6 teams, especially now that there are 18 to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you've got the shoulds, and you've got the coulds, and you've got the maybes, and you've got the probably nots, but there aren't any definitely nots. and I think that's a key for this league. And a year ago, I think we expected Northwestern to be good, but there were still a lot of skeptics. And then they went out and had a great year. Nebraska, there wasn't anybody who thought Nebraska was going to break through like this. Maybe Fred Hoiberg, I'm sure he did. But there weren't many analysts who thought they were going to break through as they did, and they had a phenomenal year. So for me, college basketball's regular season is underrated. And I believe that the one positive of this conference expansion is that people are going to see how really cool the regular season can be. Because you think about the Big 12 with Arizona and Kansas now, and you think about the SEC with Texas moving and Oklahoma into that league. And then the ACC, which has been traditionally a powerful league, it hasn't done as well in the regular season, has still done well in March. I don't think they've added much to their pool, but I definitely know Stanford is going to get better. Kyle Smith is terrific. So they're going to get better. They're going to be highly competitive in the ACC, if not immediately, then in time. So I don't think they've added a ton, but they're fortunate that they added Stanford at the time when Stanford was smart enough to hire Kyle Smith.
Well, they lost one of their players to Indiana. I always get a Kanan Carlisle. Is that the one that came from Stanford? I get him. I
believe he's the one that came from Stanford. Yes.
What's up next for you, sir?
I've got a huge project coming up. This month is the 30th anniversary of the World Cup coming to America and how that has changed sports in this country, one sport in particular, obviously, over those 3 decades. And so I talked to a ton of people, and that will appear, thanks to the Celtics winning last night, that will now appear on Thursday on sportingnews.com, on all my social media, which frankly is only Twitter and Facebook. So, but it'll be up there, and I'm really excited about it.
Would that sport be pickleball?
Yes, exactly. The fastest growing sport in the world. Yes.
Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and Big Ten Network. Always a pleasure to have you on, my friend, and always great to see you.
Thanks, Jim. You too.
Have a great one. Mike DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Lots more coming up, including Cabro joining us live from Omaha, talking about the College World Series. Of course, brought to you by Free Think Apparel and Promotions. Whether you need 24 T-shirts for the upcoming family reunion or 200 for this season's recreational baseball, softball leagues, whatever, they've got you covered. Their team of industry experts will design a professional-looking, sales-generating web store just for you and take care of everything you need. Free Think delivers no matter where you are. Visit freethinkapparel.com today and get your stuff taken care of. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
All right.
All right.
All right, yeah, this will be a solo segment, and then K-Bro will be at 9:50.
Yeah, boy. I'm hungry. I'm not going to eat. I just noticed that.
All right, here we go.
Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday. Been hot, but it seems like it's supposed to be hot today, but with all of the cloud layers that came in, the rain that came in, one would think that would drop things down. Yeah, high today now, only expected to be 89. That's a change, which is a great change to see. Which, back up into the 90s the rest of the week through until through Sunday, when some more rain might hit us, might revamp my flowers. Oh gosh, John Boy, I've got flowers out front that the deer have used for
some munchies.
Oh my, I mean, just wiped it out down to every little piece of green. I'm like, I'm going to kill you. Bambi, I'm going to kill you. You know, I'm like, you're free to walk around. You've got all this grass everywhere to eat, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, nope. So we're not on speaking terms at the moment. Indiana football has been revamping its roster. A lot of commitments. Had a couple of decommitments lately, or the most, or one or two. But defensive back, 2025 defensive back Chris McCorkle decommitted from Indiana. But they just keep rolling on with more commitments. Jamari Farmer, a linebacker out of North Carolina, commits to Indiana. You've got Indiana swimmers that will be competing in the Olympics in Paris, which will be fun to watch. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I had that list up. I had it a minute ago, and I lost it of who all will be competing. There we go. You've got the Olympic trial heats updates. This was from last week, actually. Indiana had, of course, Anna Paplowski. She qualified for the final with her personal best over the last weekend. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 athletes. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 different events that were being competed in by IU athletes, IU swimmers. Anna Paplowski, Josh Matheny, Cody Miller, Yasin Yep, Maxwell Reich, Luke Barr, Michael Breiniger, and Mason Carlton. So, congratulations to all those athletes for competing on that scale. I mean, we're talking big time, man. So congratulations to all those athletes. Lily King took one giant step closer to Paris. She dominated the 100-meter backstroke semifinal. Can't forget about the King of Queens. Does that make sense? Or is she she's the King of Queens, right?
I just know that's a TV show.
Right, but doesn't that make sense? Lily King, the King of Queens, she's a female She'd be a
Yeah.
queen, but her name's King, so she's the king of queens.
That's pretty good. I like them.
Yeah, not bad. So yeah, let's see. Looks like everybody did pretty good. That continues actually. Well, it continued through yesterday. 3 Indiana divers participated in the women's synchronized 3-meter event. Jessica Parato, Andrew Copabianco will dive today in the events that they medaled in at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. So lots of Indiana involvement in the upcoming Paris Olympics. That would have to be cool. Paris Olympics. That's the only thing that would be cooler, though. I mean, Rome. I mean, seriously, can you imagine competing in an Olympiad or the Winter Olympics in Rome? Of course, it would be an Olympiad. It'd be the Summer Olympics if it's in Rome, most likely. But how cool would that be? Just wild, because you would actually be running, and I know that they've done this, but some in the same footsteps of those thousands of years ago. Crazy. Good conversation with Mike about upcoming Indiana or Big Ten basketball season. Looking forward to continuing that next week. We'll get more into that. Redo the Coliseum and have it there. I don't think that they'll be touching that thing, hoping it doesn't fall down. But yeah, looking forward to having more conversations about that. And football, Big Ten football, as run the actual marathon. It'd be cool if you had it Greece, not Rome. Well, the Coliseum's in Rome, though, right? Is my geography off?
No, I think you got it. I think you're right.
I think the Olympics were founded in Greece, or started in Greece, but yeah. Just do it all. It's all over there. Just make it all through there. But yeah, looking forward to talking some Big Ten football as we get closer and closer to that season. We're a month away from Big Ten football media days, like 5 weeks away, as a matter of fact, which once that hits, it is shortly thereafter followed by fall camps. And then the hype machines start rolling. People start talking, and it doesn't mean jack squat until that first snap is made. For Indiana, it will be August 31st against Florida International at Memorial Stadium. What will the uptick in the crowd be? Will people stay and watch games? That drives me insane about Indiana fans. Halftime comes, it hasn't really seemed to matter what the game situation is. There were a couple of exceptions last year, but for the most part, it's like, all right, both of you all have to change. It's like both of you all need an attitude adjustment. And I'm talking by both of you. I'm talking about fans and the program. Well, I think the program has made that adjustment without question. And now, is the product on the field? We'll find out. We can, everyone like me or whomever, we can prognosticate that, I think it's going to be, well, we've been bitten by that bug before, but this is a different situation. I truly believe, in addition to a lot of things, as I've mentioned multiple times, the schedule is extraordinarily kind to Indiana. The changes that have been made are marked. They are, without question, they are evident. The spring game, the offense looked really well. really well. Did really well. Looked very good. It looked like it had options, and no pun intended there. I don't think that Indiana is going to be much of an option team. You're not going to see a 170-pound guy being run up the middle. That's something that you're not going to see, but you're going to see a much more efficient passing game, in my mind. I think that they are going to be a bang offense, one that will keep defenses on their heels. And of course, I think that's part of what they have to be. You have to make up. There's no question Indiana has deficiencies. My gosh, it's Indiana. Okay, it's not going to just change overnight to some powerhouse, but you have to mask your deficiencies as best you can, and we'll find out. Defense is where the question mark lies, and it's not because of the coaching staff. It's have they been able to line up everything that they're going to need to succeed in this league, in the Big Ten. Now, right now, I'm not seeing a strong Big Ten. Oddly, by adding 4 more teams, I still don't know if, we're used to seeing Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State all up there in that top 5-ish area. What will Penn State be like this year? What will Penn State's defense be like this year under first-year defensive coordinator Tom Allen, the former Indiana coach? A lot of pressure on him. I mean, they had one of the top defenses in the country last year before he arrived. So there's a lot of pressure on him to continue and maintain that. Pardon me. Oh, excuse me. I knew that was coming. Justin says I'm not second or third highest ranked team in that tournament. Probably. I guess I missed a conversation. Brian says traditionally IU has been so far behind at halftime it made it Miller time. Well, that's not been the case here of late, and it hasn't mattered. That's the thing. It wouldn't have, the game could be in doubt and people would still have left. The fans have got to make a decision. You got to support a team, man. Purdue fans, I'd have to look and see what they averaged, but I would wager the guess it was more than Indiana last year, and they're not exactly riding high at the moment after the loss of Jeff Brom and all that he brought to that program. What will Louisville be like with Jeff Brom? What are the expectations there, John Boy? Haven't heard a lot out of Louisville.
Yeah, so really,
I'm not following the ACC.
Yeah, with Louisville and Jeff Brom, I mean, they kind of have another. They're expected to be more of the same of what they were last year. I know they were ACC runners up, I should say. No one's necessarily expecting, or I should say, they could get back to that point. I don't know that they are expecting them to get to that point, but their schedule is also pretty favorable. The Cardinals, their toughest opponent is Clemson.
They play in the ACC. How can it not be favorable?
The ACC, I hate to say it's not a Power 5 program, or I should say
it's
Power
not
4 now.
It's not a Power 5 conference in football.
Yeah, I mean, outside of even the best of the best, I mean, you look at Florida State last year. They won the conference the way they were supposed to, but because they saw what their personnel was like without their starting quarterback, they didn't put him in the college football playoff. So if that doesn't say what your conference strength is like, I don't really know what does. So I think Louisville they're sitting comfy in a league where they're again, comfortable in. And I think Jeff Brom will continue to have success there. And when you're in a league like the ACC, or again, any league similar, all you got to do is really finish top 2 in your conference, and you may make the new 12-team college football playoff. So it's a lot easier in those leagues, I feel like. But again, we'll have to wait and see. But I think that Louisville could, if they have the season like they did last year, could sniff the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I'm wondering if for Indiana, they their third week they have to travel to Los Angeles and play UCLA in the Rose Bowl, which if they were to win that game would put them at 3-0. They come back, they'll be 4-0 after the Charlotte game, with a chance to go 5-0 with a home game against Maryland, and then 6-0. They travel to Northwestern. A 6-0 start is very possible for that Indiana football team.
And that is why that UCLA game is so, I think, important. Might be, maybe that's the right word. I'm not 100% sure, but I think
it's
that
kind of
could
a linchpin. It's kind of
a linchpin, because if you come out of that, you can almost, I hate to say automatically win any game, because again, you could have anything happen to cause yourself to lose any game. But it's hard to see Indiana losing to Charlotte in their 4th game if they come out of that win versus UCLA. And by that time, if you are 4-0, I mean, you have all the momentum, and you have 2 more winnable games, like you just mentioned, Northwestern and Maryland, to potentially get you bowl eligible for the probably the earliest in the history of the program. Has an Indiana team ever started 6-0?
Well, yes, there's an Indiana team that has been undefeated. The 1945
Rose Bowl
team and the Rose Bowl team may have also started out that way as well. I'm not sure, but
in this era of college football, since they've had a 12-game schedule, I'm sure they've never been 6-0 to start a season.
Well, no, because the 12-game schedule is only like 5 years old.
Well, that's not true, but maybe 15 years old. They've been playing 12 since at least I've been a fan, which is for, I'm 26. Not that I'm, old.
Maybe I've
anyway,
lost
it doesn't
time.
matter.
But for the first time ever, I can tell you that I've never looked at a schedule and thought that the first 9 games on Indiana's football schedule are winnable games. All 9. You only have 3 of those 9 on the road, so 6 of those 9 are at home. Let's take off the 3 non-con games. Maryland has the same coach. Northwestern has, in essence, a new coach. Nebraska's coach is in their 2nd year. Washington has a new coach. Michigan State has a new coach. I didn't even count Michigan, but Michigan has a new coach. Purdue, on the other side of Ohio State, has a coach that's in his 2nd year. UCLA has a new coach. It's not just that. It's just there are a myriad of things that go into that. So, there you go, John Boy.
There you go. So what? Almost 20 years, 18 years?
Yeah, 18. So you were closer than I was. We've got to take a break. K-Bro's going to join us live from Omaha. Up next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Boost Fundraising. You know of any clubs or teams or whatnot looking for a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member, free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all, whether it's sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, or community groups. Just go to boostfundraising.com today and be sure to enter the promo code COIL to receive a discounted promo. We're back with more, including K-Bro, right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Formerly
I let him know we were ready for him. One thing that does worry me is he's on Central Time.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Nope. Did you text him or email him?
I did both.
I did both. I did both. I did both.
I wish I'd have clarified Eastern time with him yesterday, but I wasn't thinking about him being in Central time.
Well, he should know that that's what time we're on, but call his ass.
Here's what I'll do. If he doesn't pop on when we come back, I'll give him a shout just to see. Oh, never mind. He just responded. He said, "Shoot, just woke up." So he must have
Yep.
not realized. But he'll be on in the moment that I'm sure if he's called the message.
Yeah.
I'll say all good. See you in a few minutes.
Say hurry your ass up.
A little behind the scenes action for the ISB listeners, as always. Okay, bro, it's drying out. All right, here we go.
It took me those shots.
HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to anymorehonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us on this cloudy day. That's okay. Brings a little cooler temperatures, man. Cools things down a little bit, not a ton, but we'll take what we can get, right? K-Bro will join us. Kevin Brockway here in a little bit. He's out in Omaha, covering the College World Series. Yesterday, 2 games on the docket, and worked out well for 2 teams, and it did not for the other 2. Florida, one of those on the winning side, as they knock off North Carolina State in 10 innings. No, number 10 North Carolina State, I guess that is. 5-4. Florida was the only unranked team, or not in the top 10. That's amazing. So they're rolling. Kentucky takes the L to Texas A&M 5-1. That puts the Wildcats in the losers bracket. And that puts Texas A&M in a good spot, scoring all of their runs in the 6th inning. And they held Kentucky hitless through 7. They're off to their best start in a Men's College World Series. Their overall record, 51-13 on this season. They're 2-0 right now in the Men's College World Series, and that's for the first time in 8 appearances. They're have basically taken control of bracket 2. I believe Tennessee is running things over in bracket 1 right now. They will await the winner of an elimination game today between Florida and Kentucky. So there's 2 reasons to pull for Florida there. More Kevin Brockway, and less Kentucky. That makes a lot of people out there happy. Today's game's coming up. Look at these games are just fun to watch. There's always action in these games. At least on one side. And then when we get done with this, we'll have the Little League World Series. So there you go, Brian. Less Kentucky is always a plus. There you go. Addition by subtraction. And then today's games, let's see. What is the schedule today? I forgot who is on the Tennessee should be playing today, right? Well, no. Florida plays Kentucky at 7 tonight. And that is the only game scheduled for today. So Cabro is going to have to be on it. Of course, he's got a late start time for that game out there in Omaha. I wonder if he was trying to put some of those shots on the board. You know, what I forget the name of that shot that they do, but I wonder if he's trying to help Florida's cause. I'm sure he found a karaoke spot, Mr. Karaoke. Did we play that? Did I actually play that when he was last time, or did I?
I don't know, but I did see he posted something. I believe it was last night. He found his way to a karaoke bar.
Did it show him singing?
No, it was just a photo from all I could tell.
Oh, that's a shame, because I had one of him singing, and that I was afraid we would get dinged for the song.
You could,
but I don't know that you can make out what song it really is. I mean, I can, but it takes a minute. Yeah, he's Mr. Karaoke. Well, hopefully he'll be along in the next segment. And there is. Speaking of the devil
now. Let's go and bring
Speak of the devil. How was the karaoke last night?
What?
Good day, sir. How was the karaoke last night?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, it was good. It was fun. Drift
Morning
Away
for
was
you.
a big hit for sure. So
What
that
was?
a good time. Drift Away? That's what I did. Dobie Gray. Yeah.
So it's just a one-shot appearance? You just do a mic drop, one song, and you're out?
I did that. I did Foo Fighters, Everlong. Yeah, it was a good time.
Wait, you did that again? You did that like a week ago.
Yeah.
So you had a command performance?
Yeah, it was really good. It was fun. It picked up even later, which was a little surprising when I got there. It wasn't many people, but it did.
They didn't know you were there. See, word started to spread. Word started to spread that you were there.
I guess, yeah.
What happens? It's like Johnny Depp at the Viper Room. They're like, dude, K-Bro is down here singing karaoke. And this next thing you know, it's shots are flying everywhere. What are those shots that they drink out there?
Oh, the Jello shots. Yeah. Yep. Jello shot challenge. For sure.
Yeah. Is that why we see all those Jello boxes around your hotel room?
Yeah, exactly.
So Florida hanging in there, man. They get a much needed win, and they will go back at it again today in an elimination game against your old friends, the Kentucky Wildcats, tonight at 7 p.m. on ESPN. And somebody is going home.
Yeah, elimination game, Jim. And I know that some of your listeners down in South Indiana, I don't know if they're going to be pulling for Kentucky or pulling against Kentucky.
Let me go ahead and ease your mind right now. Ain't nobody going to be pulling for Kentucky. Ain't nobody pulling for Kentucky, man. Come on. Now, I consider myself a down the middle. I am fair. I am everything. But there's one area where I will acknowledge and admit I can't stand Kentucky. I grew up I've gotten the fan chip out of my brain. You know, I've been working in this industry. You need to do that. And I do, except for one. I can't stand Kentucky. It's just like, it is what it is. And that's fine. I need to be able to have some kind of outlet still. And so I will be I'll be doing the Gators chomp today, baby. I will be doing the Gators chomp.
That's funny. Yeah. It's kind of a rematch show. I mean, they played in the regular season not too long ago in mid-May, Mother's Day weekend, and Kentucky won 2 of 3, but 2 of those games were extra inning games, and you've got we would call it their pitcher Nyman, who they're pitching today, was a guy that Florida actually beat. Scored a lot of runs against them. So it's setting up pretty well for the Gators. And, Florida's 7-1 in elimination games. They've been kind of playing with house money this whole tournament. So I think they're going to come out pretty loose and relaxed tonight. Now, we've got some, rain in the forecast tonight. So it's really gloomy here. Actually, I woke up this morning and it's you can already see it. So I think some of these games could be pushed back a little bit. But if they do play tonight, it'll be interesting to see how they respond. And right now, Tennessee and Texas A&M are the 2 teams that are kind of in the driver's seat here, and a lot of Tennessee fans here, a ton of Tennessee fans everywhere. They're the fan base that traveled the best out here.
Wow, that's good to hear. Yeah, I always like to hear that when you get a fan base that is this really supportive. I was talking about Indiana football fans and on how they have to pick up the pace, and it's a give and take. I know that you have to have a good product on the field. You have to have a reason to support, but at the same time, it's got to be give and take on both sides. But we'll get back to that at another time. But it's got to be a blast out there. But you mentioned the weather. Man, come to think of it, I don't usually hear weather being much of an issue during the College World Series. Don't remember.
Yeah, you can get storms every once in a while, but now, Florida's first game, I don't know if you remember on Saturday, I mean, they had a 4-hour and 15-minute delay. So they didn't get started until I think it was about 10:15 local time, which, for Florida being in the Eastern time zone was actually 11:15. So they didn't get done until 1 a.m. So you can have these storms come through every once in a while in the Midwest. And that's kind of where they are. The field here drains really well, though, and they prepared very well. And if they get the tarp down, they can, before the rains come, they can usually get, the games going pretty quickly. So it's a beautiful ballpark, and it's got a really good drainage system there.
Yeah, and a fun spot to be. Of course, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't mind a little rain delay because that just extends your stay a little longer. How long have you been in Omaha now already?
6 days. Yeah. I got here last Wednesday because I had to do media day on Thursday. And I've been helping out also with some North Carolina and North Carolina State coverage as well. So they've kept me pretty busy out here. So that's why last night was a welcome escape from the press box to do a little something fun, a little something different. Figured I would let loose, do a little karaoke, and it was a good night for sure.
How long could you possibly be out there?
Till next Monday, Tuesday. I'd fly back on Tuesday possibly, but if these teams start to lose that I'm covering, I could be back as early as tomorrow. Actually, yeah. If North Carolina and Florida both lose, I could be back tomorrow
or another week. That's wild to imagine being in one spot for 2 weeks covering something, unless it's the Olympics. To be honest with you, I mean, there's no other event that is there any other event you've ever covered that you've been in a spot for that length of time?
No, not that I can recall. I mean, it's just, you think about the NCAA tournament.
The key is not that you can recall.
Exactly.
Jello shots, baby. Jello shots.
I think that, the thing about the NCAA tournament is you're on the road, right, for a month, but you're bouncing from city to city, usually weekend to weekend. So, but I do know that that can be kind of crazy in terms of, the number of days that you're on the road total. I mean, that's, I can recall when Florida made their runs to the Final Four, you're on the road for like 30 days and stuff. And there was one year where I was in Texas and I didn't fly back. I remember because they went from Austin to Dallas. So you just got a rental car one way and drove from Austin to Dallas. I've done that before. One year I went from Omaha and I flew directly to Phoenix rather than come back to Florida as well. So.
Well, so upcoming game today, the Kentucky Wildcats have kind of been the Cinderella story, I guess, of the series, making their first men's college World Series, having played pretty well up until now. They take the L, getting shut out or held hitless through 7 innings yesterday. So, and in Florida with a tough match with the North Carolina team. And not only that, let's talk about North Carolina State, not North Carolina, but let's talk about North Carolina State for just a second, K-Bro. What a year for the Wolfpack. This is their second College World Series in 4 years. They won 9 football games last year and was a top 25 team all season. They went to the men's basketball Final Four. They went to the women's basketball Final Four. The third straight women's cross-country national championship. They won the ACC men's swimming championship and the ACC gymnastics championship. Been a pretty damn good year for the Wolfpack, who is usually looked at as the little stepbrother of the ACC.
Yeah, no, I thought it was an inspired run by them. If you remember to the Final Four, because if you remember, they were an 11 seed when they went all the way there. And beat Duke in the Elite Eight, so that was pretty big. And then you look out here and you look at what they accomplished to get here, and really a couple of heartbreaking games for them here because they lost that game to Kentucky in 10 innings on the walk-off home run, and then yesterday against Florida, they fell behind early but clawed back to 5-4 and couldn't get that last run across to send the game to extra innings. So it was tough sledding for them there. Elliot Avent, their coach, is a real he's got kind of a Cajun accent. I don't know if he's from Louisiana originally, but just a nice kind of grandfatherly old guy, and somebody that seemed like the players really liked, and it's a good year for the Wolfpack for sure.
Absolutely. Now, the Florida Gators, they're the only team they're like the lowest ranked team that I think is left, right?
Yeah, and they were coming in terms of, they were the only team that's not a national seed that's here. So, like I said, in that sense, they're playing with a little bit of house money, but, I think now that they're here, they, like to, but it's going to be a very difficult run for them because they have to win 3 in a row, basically. And, they probably tonight they're rooting for rain out because they can give their arms an extra day of rest pitching wise if that were to happen. Their style of offense too isn't necessarily conducive to Omaha just because, with the wind blowing in, they're more of a power slugging team. And it's hard to hit the ball out here for sure. Although Jack Caglione certainly did the trick. He had a missile to right field, to give him a early 4-1 lead. I mean, but I think home runs here, you got to hit them on a line because if you get them in the air, 9 times out of 10 out here, they're going to be held up in the wind. So that's one of the keys. Kentucky is more of a small ball team, man. They make things happen on the bases. I thought their style was really going to be conducive to Omaha, but they just came out really flat and didn't hit yesterday. And Ryan Prager, the Texas A&M pitcher, was really on his stuff. So they're facing a little pressure too, Kentucky, and they were the number 2 national seed coming in here. So I think there were a lot of expectations going in, but we'll see how the game transpires tonight. But I would expect at least there's going to be another delay of some sort before the first pitch.
What is it going to take besides global warming to get teams outside of the SEC and ACC or not? There are other smaller schools that actually make it to the College World Series. Dallas College Baptist. I'm trying to think of some of the others that you you could not possibly not even have heard of that are good. It's just like soccer. There you'll be going along. It's Stanford, it's Indiana, it's Wake Forest, and then it's St. Mary's College for K-Bros. But there has to be a better mix of teams from outside of these two conferences. And I know that this would not be probably accepted well by those teams, but I think you have to have more, maybe send teams from the Big Ten to the College World Series, especially with the league getting bigger. You win the conference tournament, it is an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament, or at least there, but you had Indiana in the tournament this year, and that's not a first, and it's on them to make it up after that. But it still seems like all these other teams have such an advantage because all of the sites were at their places.
Yeah, well, it's a warm weather sport, as you know, so the Sun Belt teams are going to do really well. But what will be interesting with the expanded Big Ten is obviously you get the West Coast teams, USC and UCLA, and two teams that used to be traditionally college baseball powers. And you used to have the teams out West that did pretty well. Or, you look at Pepperdine, Cal State Fullerton, those were traditional programs. And you haven't seen that from the West lately, like many teams from the West Coast that have been out there. And I think with the Big Ten expanding and the resources that they'll have, available now, some of these college programs with the money, the TV money that's coming in, I think you'll start to see programs like USC and UCLA that are now Big Ten programs kind of rise up again. Oregon is a team out West too that does pretty well. Oregon State is not a Big Ten team, but maybe it'll get other people to raise their game. I guess, Michigan in 2019, right? They got to the College World Series finals. It can be done. You've just got to have a special team. Indiana, the Kyle Schwarber team, they made it to the College World Series as well. So, I think there are opportunities for the Big Ten to get teams here. They just have to, obviously commit to it. And I think too, obviously finding maybe practice facilities where they can work out a little more. And I know it's really hard for them in February because they got to go on the road and face these teams down south because the weather isn't conducive to playing games in February. Unless maybe you can find some dome sites, hey, why not have Indiana? I guess you can't really play baseball in Lucas Oil, can you? Or can you configure it for that or whatever? I know that Minnesota, maybe, but, maybe have these tournaments in dome sites as well in February so that you could have some home games for Big Ten teams in February.
Well, as nuts as it sounds, that's a good question. I don't think that the Colts would be. I'm not sure how conducive they would be to retrofitting Lucas Oil for baseball, because you would probably have to tear a bunch of seats out. Even though you would put them back, you would have to do some construction. And then you're like, well, the Colts play up, you're hoping that you're playing up until January, which would open, but then it opens the stadium. The stadium sits empty, from January, February, March, April, May, all those months. It does just sit there empty.
Yeah, well, and then you've got, sometimes they have NCAA tournament in March there. I think next year, right? They're going to have a regional final there, right? In Lucas Oil. So I think that, but you're right. Most of the time, that stadium Lucas Oil sits empty. So it would be nice to see them, maybe try it or consider it. Maybe you don't even reconfigure it. You just have a short porch on one of the, and just do it that way, where you can invite some teams in, and it would at least give the Big Ten a chance to, like I said, have some home games in February, which could help their cause in terms of, making other teams travel out to them and maybe get some wins in the non-conference, which would help their seeding. Because that's, obviously, like you said, that's the big problem. They just don't have the ability to get those, top 16 national seeds because they're behind the 8 ball in non-conference, having to play a lot of road games.
K-Bro's with us right here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got some more coming up. We'll be back with that, brought to you by the Fresh Fork. They have served IU athletes, and now you can get it yourself. You can reach out to Fresh Fork and order online, and you can get a discount. Use Radio 20 as your sign-in code, and you can have all the Fresh Fork you want. Healthy, delicious meals right at home without the hassle, K-Bro. You don't have to ever make anything again. It just comes to you ready to go, baby. Chef curated, ready-made meals right to your doorstep.
That
Just
sounds
go
good,
to-
Jim. That sounds like it's right up your alley. Get the.
You know what? I wish I need to get. I wish I could get some sent to you. That's what we need to do. Use promo code Radio20, get $20 off your first order. Just go to thefreshforkonline.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market. Gee whiz, my phone blowing up all of a sudden, people. I'm busy.
All right, when we come back, you'll have about 6 minutes to finish things up.
All right, K-Bro, 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Chat about.
We can try to think what else we can talk about here.
How about Indiana's football recruiting? Which
Yeah.
I know you're not up on, but man, they're just for a team that has not landed 4 stars, never had landed a 5-star ever, but
Yeah.
to be in have a top 25 or right at it class, the way they're going about it is pretty incredible, I think, because usually you have higher ranked draft or recruits that kind of raise your average. They're pretty steady right at the spot. Now, that's going to drastically increase as these years go by. And I haven't put this out on Twitter. I've said it, but I have been told by 2 people very close to the situation that Julian Lewis, the number 1 recruit in the United States, the quarterback who is committed to USC, but decided to take all of his visits, has narrowed his 2 schools down to USC and Indiana. How
That'd be
crazy
something.
is that to say?
Well, what is Indiana doing? Are they just devoting a lot to NIL? Is that it, or?
Well, the new staff for one thing. Kurt Signetti, if when you're around him, he's just no BS. He's serious. His staff has been with him for, on average, the entire staff, I'd say, averages 5 years. That's incredible. That's almost impossible. Now that they're at and I should save this, I guess. Now that they're at
Here we go,
higher
guys.
level,
Just a few seconds.
house-made products around, and everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home. Or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop, Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. It is the last day of Kurt Signetti's football camps, which have been going on. He's had 4 elite camps, and K-Bro, you're covering Florida. You get to cover some big time football,
And Indiana is trying to. They're serious about trying to make that change, I guess, because while they have acted and said that they have tried in the past, that's not really the case. And I'll always say that how much I respect and love Tom Allen as a person, but that was just a horrific hire as a head coach, especially when you have two guys that were underneath of him immediately that were both successful head coaches, one of which is at Alabama, or hell, all three. You got 4 different people that were on the same staff now at Alabama. Head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, strength coach, and the defensive line coach is at LSU. That says a lot. Can you, boy, had even if Kalen DeBoer had been given the head coaching job, he would not be at Indiana right now. I believe that. I mean, they would have had some success, and he would have moved to a better job. Could have just went to Washington. Who knows? But this is a different situation. This is Curt Cignetti, because of his age. I think he's going to be a lifer at Indiana. He's not, you're not going to leave in your late 60s to take another job someplace. I believe, as long as things are going well. So Indiana this is a really good combination. And if things go well over the next several years, and with his ability to have kept his staff intact, which is mind-boggling, some upwards of 11 years, the next head coach could already be there in waiting, which again is something IU has not been good at, making good hires and then making a follow-up hire. They've been absolutely pretty horrendous at it, to be in a number of situations. But Gabriel, they have 8 home games this year, and their third game is on the road at UCLA. But UCLA is not the UCLA, your grandpa's UCLA. Their new coach, obviously going through whatever they went through for their coach to leave. And 4 out of their first 6 games are at home. The road games are at UCLA and at Northwestern. That's a potential 6-0 start for Indiana, which would just be a crazy train. And then you get 2 more home games with Nebraska and Washington. So the schedule is set up.
I mean, there are opportunities, and I think with recruiting, anytime you have a new coach, there's a little bit of a boon. There's enthusiasm. It sounds like Curt Cignetti is really taking it seriously in terms of talent procurement. The chance that they're in on some of these 4 and 5 stars at a school like Indiana really says something. It says that their staff are really doing well, and it says probably too that resources-wise, NIL too, they're devoting to it, which is what you need today to be successful as well in bringing in the best recruits you can. So I think that certainly the arrow is pointing up, but a game hasn't been played yet, so we'll have to see what the results are on the field. But you watched the spring game. What did you think of the actual football based on what they did?
I think that they are going to have options with offense. They have had a quarterback battle every year under Tom Allen, mainly because I don't think they had the ability to do the things they needed to do or whatever. But if they happen to have a quarterback battle this year, which I was not expecting, I thought Curtis Work would be easy. I saw Taven Jackson take a step up is what I saw. I saw Indiana is going to have a loaded quarterbacks room. They've got a really good running backs room. They have a much improved offensive line. They're going to be a more of a up-tempo team. I think they're going to keep defenses on their heels. I think that they're going to give themselves a chance to compete in pretty much all of their games.
1 minute.
I look at their schedule, and there's only 2 games that I consider probably, won't win games, but that's nuts. That's usually a lot more than that.
Yeah, they're going to have to show it, like I said, on the field. And with this new Big Ten, as you mentioned, UCLA with Deshaun Foster as the coach, and Chip Kelly didn't leave that program in good shape at all. So, I mean, there's
which is great for Indiana.
Yeah, potential to go out there, pick up a win, but you got to build some momentum. I think it comes down to, you and I both know football is the momentum sport. When Tom Allen had it rolling in 2019 and 2020, Indiana was the place you want to be, and it, spiraled quickly in 2021, went downhill, and Tom couldn't get it back. So I think for Kurt, I mean, the key is to sustain also, which is hard to do in a place like Indiana. But if you can sustain something, have consistent success year in and year out, what is consistent success for Indiana? Probably get into a bowl game if you can make that a reasonable goal and then build from there. I think that would be that'd be huge if you can get 6 or 7 wins.
Absolutely. Look forward to having you back, K-Bro. Hope you get to stay out in Omaha another week. That'll be fun. So,
we'll see. Yeah.
Go Gators. Knock off the Wildcats tonight at 7:00 on ESPN.
Yes. Or as you like to call them, the Mildcats, right?
The Wildcats. All right, brother. Thank you. Have a good day and enjoy it. Go back and take you a late afternoon nap.
No, I appreciate it. It's good to be on, and it'll be fun to be out in the ballpark again today.
The people love you. They've spoken, and I love you as well. I love each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks to Mike DeCourcy as well for joining us on the program today. Thanks to John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. We're back tomorrow to do it again. Dylan Sin, Kyle Nedenrip, Rick Bozich, all joining us as well. So we're back, and we'll have results of tonight's baseball games as well. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.